be okay, like easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see on your screen now it says recording?
Oh yeah, at the very top. Yeah. I can see. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
good,
Cool.
good, good,
Thank
good,
you,
good.
Lylian.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for agreeing as well to come on my channel. I really do appreciate that. It helps my viewers and also your viewers if they watch,
Yeah.
and just anyone that needs help in their relationships, dating. So thank you very much for joining me.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? This is really, I feel like, about helping, as many women out there as possible,
Yes.
because I think, like, you and I were both like, we really want them to feel like we do in our relationship right now, or
Yes.
even more when we get to that level, right? So this is great.
Yeah, and share those. Yeah, exactly. And I think share those experiences on, and so everyone feels like, okay, we all go through this. It's not just me. Yeah, and so today we're focusing on loving ourselves in a relationship, and loving ourselves in dating, and just focusing on, even up to setting boundaries. What can we do when we're feeling a little bit of self-doubt, when we're having a lot of arguments, or we're going through a rough patch. And so we're going to be discussing things like that to help people know, okay, this is what you can do, this is the way around it, and this is how we can cope in these situations.
Great. Sounds
Okay.
amazing.
Cool. So the first thing that I want to check in with you, Lylian, is that do you see that in relationships where the couples or one person in the relationship starts to feel less attractive, less sexy, and less motivation to start putting into themselves as they did when they were in the beginning of the relationship, and are putting in a lot of effort then, but then now it's sort of, started to slow back, and the relationship gets really comfortable, and it's not there anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you see it on both sides too, right? It's not just the woman you see it, but you see it in the man, that he starts slipping off, and you're like, okay, what happened here?
Exactly.
But for women, I think this is for everybody, but especially women, I think it's more about, what makes you happy, what makes you feel good. And the way that you feel good and the way that you feel happy, that's how you're going to show up in the world. That's how you're going to show up, not only in your relationship, but in everything else that you do in the world, right? So if you feel good, if you feel sexy, if you feel confident, how are you going to be showing up in the world with everybody else, right? And in this relationship. So I think it's keeping that in mind, and maybe prioritizing ourselves in a way, because as women, we tend to put things off. And I think once you have a family like you do, then you start forgetting, like, oh yeah, well, my daughter comes first, or my partner comes first, and then we forget, right? So
yeah, that's really true. I heard there's a lady called Marissa Peer, and she does a lot of therapy work and videos, and she said that if you're not feeling good, my daughter just came to say hello to me. She just woke up.
cute.
Yeah, she said that if you're not feeling good, and if you're not dressing in a way that you like, then how will you expect your partner to also feel good or attracted to you, because they're picking up on that. They're picking up on your energy, and then they're reading from that. Whereas when you're feeling really good, and you can make it about you. What do I feel good in? What do I feel sexy in? Or, what is it that makes me feel good? And then you're right. The other partner reads that from you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's totally. It's like it's that vibe that you give out, right? And it all starts with your energy. And I think some people are like, "Well, I just feel tired. I don't have the energy." But in order to create energy, you have to, move your body, right? So exercising is a beautiful thing to do. I love exercising because it makes me happy. And you're also like, you feel so energized because of it. So it's a great thing to do. Like, exercising is like the one thing. If you want to feel sexy and confident, girl, go exercise, do some Pilates, do some yoga. Like, that's gonna get you going, right? And that's gonna make you feel more confident because you're taking care of yourself.
I should do more some exercise. I've gone through stages in my life where I've done it a lot, but you're right. When I have done it, you feel really good. You feel great. And then you can come home, you can have a shower, and you still feel energetic. You feel really good. So yeah, true.
Absolutely, yeah. There you go.
And what about, I noticed that a lot of, and not just women as well, but men too, feel that, you know, how can I love myself and how can I set boundaries at the same time? I feel like there's this struggle of, well, if I set boundaries and I have to tell you something, I'm struggling to tell you that I want to set this boundary, because what happens if you don't love me when I set that boundary, or what happens if you don't like that boundary I'm setting? And so there's a very big, it's hard for people to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that comes down to self-esteem, really, because it's that need to please another. It's that need to really like win that person all over, right? But because you feel like you're not good enough.
Yeah.
And so, and another part of that, I think, is, you know, to do with you trusting yourself, trusting that the decisions that you're making, you know, are good and that they're going to result in good things. So it's trusting your gut in a sense of like, yes, this feels good, this doesn't feel good, and creating those boundaries. And really, at the end of the day, boundaries, I find that they're like just sort of like you're giving that person sort of like a permission to give you that beautiful stuff back. Like you're putting, like, you know, I think it's more of like change your mindset about a boundary is not a bad thing. It's a good thing because you're giving that person that permission to love you the way you want to be loved.
And
So
how attractive do we find someone that has boundaries, that has standards? We don't go for people ourselves that don't have any boundaries or don't have any standards or that have really low morals. We go for somebody that has those standards that we have to reach and live up to, and we're attracted to that. And so it's the same. They're attracted when you have boundaries and they know, okay, I have to be this certain way, or this is the way that they want to be treated, and they know I have to live up to that. I have to do that.
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and then it goes back to the self-loving, like self-esteem. Okay, that comes to self-love. And there's so many tools out there. I even have, like, you know, videos on that, on the different tools that you can use in order to love yourself, in order to fully, you know, unapologetically love yourself and, you know, really love every part of you, even the part that you're not very happy about. And it has nothing to do with your body. It could be thoughts that you have, that you know, negative thoughts that you have about yourself. All of those things are going to help you in becoming better, obviously, at loving yourself, and at the end it's going to help you with those boundaries.
And I recommend you do check out Lylian's videos as well, and starting to really get into that real self-love, which we will discuss as that's different to self-care. But when you really love yourself, then it all becomes, it's all linked together and becomes all connected. So that is really important, to have that self-care, self-love, know what your boundaries are. And in the beginning, if you're not too sure what boundaries you do want to set, Lylian, do you say that it's best to go off your feelings? So whatever you're feeling, if it doesn't feel good to you, then maybe that is where a boundary can start.
Absolutely.
Know what is my boundary? Should I copy what somebody else's boundary is? Or
yeah, everybody has different boundaries, and I think I have a video on boundaries, and it's all about thinking of it as a bubble that you're wrapping yourself about. You know, your boundaries is a bubble, and it comes all around you, and it means, like, you know, that's the area where you feel loved. That's the area where you feel calm. That's the area where, you know, this space that you have here between you and that bubble is just love. And whatever else doesn't feel good to you, that's the things that you just, you know, create a boundary around that. Whatever doesn't feel good, you create a boundary around that. It's just self-respect. It's just loving yourself and really having that self-respect of like, these are the things that I want. And if you're not willing to give me that, that's okay. But I'm not willing to stay in this, you know, environment that's not good for me. Right?
That's a really beautiful way to put it. I love how you put that. Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah. And so, Lylian, I also want to ask you as well, which I know is something that a lot of us do struggle with, and that is when you are having maybe a really rough patch in your relationship, fighting, arguing, and it can go on for a while. You know, we always go through waves. And in those times when you doubt yourself, when you start to question, if I'm fighting a lot with this person, or, this happened in my last relationship, so it's obviously me, and what's wrong with me, and that doubt, and then the unable to feel so much love for yourself because of what's going on in the relationship, and having that hard time. So, well, what do you suggest in those moments?
Yeah, so I think, like I find that whenever I'm having a lot of conflict or there's a lot going on, I think it's because we're a lot in our minds, we're stuck up here instead of really connecting with our hearts, really connecting with how you feel. I think there's a disconnect that happens, and that you're just overthinking, overanalyzing, and you're like making whatever, instead of focusing on like, okay, how do I solve the problem? We're just thinking of like, that person, he did this to me, he did that to me, he made me feel this way. And so I think it's a lot of mind, and it's all in your mind. So I think it's more about connecting to your heart, really connecting to your feelings, and really connecting to that feminine energy in you, right, as a woman, and really finding that, tuning into that, embracing that. I think that's the way of, really resolving a lot of the conflicts that we have with our men. Comes down to just leaning back to your feminine energy.
It almost sounds like, I think, when we are in our masculine energy, and we are maybe not even aware of it, but when we're in our masculine, we start to want to solve things, and we have that competitive side, be right, and take charge, and not feel so comfortable in letting the situation flow on so easily, really want to run that situation. And I believe that that's really right. You argue in those moments because if there's the two masculines, and it's not going to work well together. And it doesn't mean about being a doorstep or anything like that, or letting people just run over you and not feeling as if you can say what you want in the relationship, but going about it in a softer way. And that's a conversation we can have as well. I'd love to bring you on again and have another chat about this.
Yes.
But really true. Do you have any like examples, say in the middle of an argument or anything like that, what you could do if you either maybe want to know, am I really feeling masculine right now, or how can I just come back to being like a softer, or take a break from this argument, anything like that?
Yeah, so I think the best thing that you were just saying is, taking like a timeout in a sense at that moment when you're feeling like so fired up that there's a lot going on. And the best thing to do is really be like the observer, and become like, get that time out, start observing. What is it that I'm feeling? What's going on inside me? What meaning am I putting this in this situation? What am I saying about my partner? Like, because normally the conflicts that we're having with our partner has really nothing to do with that person. It's just how that person is making us, we think how that person is making us feel, but it's really not. It's the meaning that we're giving in that moment to whatever he said. So it's like, we feel rejected, we feel abandoned, we have all these feelings going on, right? It's really focusing on that. Like, what story am I telling myself at this moment? And start from there, and start questioning, I think that there's a lot of self-discovery through doing, figuring yourself out, and really understanding, where is this all coming from. And so, and there's a whole lot of that too. We can have a lot of, this conversation can go on, but that would be like the first step, is just being, cut yourself, be self-aware, give yourself time out, and really discover what story am I telling myself. That's a really key question to ask.
Self-accountability part of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Whatever story I think you do choose, and whatever story you do tell yourself, then we find things to add up on that, one brick and then another, and then it becomes this really huge big belief, or this self-fulfilling prophecy that we've come up with from believing this one thing initially and then adding to that. And yeah, it's all internal stuff, not even to do with somebody else. They say 90% of what you have a problem with today is your past. It's from your past, and 10% of it is actually to this current argument, this current moment. And I really love that. That is so true, because a lot of it comes from something else, and then a little bit of it is just from this current moment, but we bring in that 90% to now.
Yes, yeah. And then I think the last thing that I want to say on this topic is, once you you find, whatever story that you think it's the meaning of it, then go back to your partner and ask, what did you mean by that? What did you mean when you said this to me? And 99% of the time, he did not mean what you thought he meant. I've done it so many times myself when I go back and I'm just like, oh, okay, he actually did not mean that. We get it wrong all the time. Right?
Take it personally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love that point. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And thank you for coming on this video as well, and sharing all of these experiences, things we can do, and helping us with moments that, where we really struggle and that everybody goes through.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for doing this with me. This is amazing.
Thank you. I'll get you on again soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.